The elevator doors slid open with their usual mechanical sigh, a sound I'd grown so accustomed to that it barely registered anymore, like the hum of the refrigerator in my apartment or the distant wail of sirens that drifted up from the city streets below. I stepped inside, juggling 2 heavy grocery bags in one arm and my phone in the other, the screen still glowing with an unread email from work. It was one of those days, gray skies, aching feet, the kind of exhaustion that settled into your bones and whispered that maybe, just maybe, adulthood was a scam. The fluorescent light overhead flickered once, as it always did when the car passed the 3rd floor, a tiny electrical hiccup I'd reported to maintenance 3 times and had long since stopped expecting anyone to fix. I pressed the button for the 12th floor with my elbow, the plastic circle cool and slightly sticky under my skin. The doors were halfway closed, the gap narrowing like a slow blink, when a hand shot through, pale, trembling, the nails neatly manicured but chipped at the edges. "Hold it." I jammed my foot against the door just in time. It recoiled with a groan, and Mrs. Evelyn Jenkins slipped inside, breathless and wide-eyed. She was dressed like she'd been interrupted mid-errand, a camel-colored coat over a silk blouse, pearl earrings catching the light, her silver hair pulled into a low bun that had started to come loose. She smelled faintly of lavender and old books, the same scent that always lingered in the hallway outside 12B, where she kept a small table with a vase of fresh orchids that somehow never wilted. She clutched a small white envelope in both hands, holding it close to her chest like a secret she wasn't ready to part with. Her eyes, sharp blue, usually twinkling with dry humor or mild disapproval, darted to the corners of the elevator, to the emergency panel, to the ceiling, as if she expected someone to be watching from the vents. "Mrs. Jenkins," I said, shifting the grocery bags. A carton of milk teetered dangerously. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. Instead, she thrust the envelope toward me, her fingers brushing mine, cold, clammy. "Here," she whispered. "Read it. Now." I stared at the envelope. It was crisp, expensive stationery, the kind you didn't buy at the corner drugstore. My name wasn't on it. No address. Just a faint crease down the middle where it had been folded once, precisely. "Mrs. Jenkins, I don't. Just read it." The elevator lurched upward, the cables groaning softly. I balanced the bags against my hip and tore open the flap with my thumb. Inside was a single sheet of paper, matching the envelope, thick, creamy, the kind of paper that felt like money. The handwriting was frantic, slanted sharply to the right, the ink bleeding slightly where the pen had pressed too hard. "Get out of here if you want to live." My breath caught. The words stared up at me, stark and black against the white. I read them again, and again. My mind scrambled for context, a prank, a misunderstanding, a cry for help from someone losing their grip on reality. Mrs. Jenkins had always been eccentric, yes, but never unhinged. She'd once spent 3 hours lecturing me on the proper way to water orchids after catching me drowning mine in the sink. She'd left passive-aggressive notes about recycling. She'd even baked me cookies after I helped her carry groceries up 12 flights when the elevator was out for a week. This wasn't her. I looked up. "What is this?" She didn't answer. Her lips were pressed into a thin line, her eyes fixed on the floor numbers climbing slowly. 7, 8, 9. The elevator dinged at the 12th floor. The doors slid open with a soft chime, revealing the familiar hallway, dimly lit, carpeted in that faded burgundy pattern that had been there since the building was built in the 80s. The air smelled faintly of lemon polish and someone's burnt toast. My apartment was 20 feet to the left, past the fake ficus and the bulletin board with its curling flyers for yoga classes and lost cats. Mrs. Jenkins grabbed my wrist. Her grip was iron, her fingers digging into the soft skin beneath my watch. "Trust me," she said, her voice low and urgent. "Run." I opened my mouth to protest. This was insane. I had frozen peas melting in my bag, my laptop was charging on the couch, but the look in her eyes stopped me cold. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't senility. It was fear, raw, animal, the kind you see in disaster footage, in the eyes of people who know the ceiling is about to come down. The elevator doors began to close again, the mechanism whining. She shoved me, hard, out into the hallway. I stumbled, the grocery bag swinging wildly. A jar of marinara sauce slipped free and shattered on the carpet, red splattering like blood across the burgundy fibers. "Go," she hissed. "Don't come back." The door sealed shut with a final, decisive thud. The elevator hummed as it descended. I stood there, frozen, the note crumpled in my fist. My heart hammered against my ribs. The hallway was silent except for the faint tick of the wall clock and the distant murmur of a TV behind someone's door. My keys were in my hand, I could see the brass glinting under the sconce light. My apartment was right there. My life was right there, the unmade bed, the half-finished report, the photo of my dog who died last year still taped to the fridge. But something, some deep, primal instinct, curled in my gut and screamed. I backed away. 1 step. 2. The broken jar crunched under my shoe. I turned and ran. The stairwell door was heavy, the push bar cold against my palm. I slammed through it and took the stairs 2 at a time, my sneakers slapping against the concrete. The grocery bags banged against my thighs, milk sloshing, apples rolling free and bouncing down the steps behind me. I didn't stop to pick them up. I didn't look back. 11, 10, 9. My lungs burned. My legs screamed. I'd meant to start running again, tomorrow, always tomorrow, but now tomorrow didn't matter. Only the next flight, the next landing, the next breath. 8, 7, 6. I could hear the elevator cables humming somewhere in the shaft, descending faster than I was. Or was it ascending again? I couldn't tell. My mind raced faster than my feet. Was someone in the elevator with her? Was someone coming for me? 5, 4, 3. I hit the lobby door at a full sprint, shoulder first. It flew open and I burst into the marble expanse of the entrance hall, past the dozing security guard who jolted awake in his chair, past the mailboxes and the flickering CCTV screen. The glass doors to the street were ahead, the city beyond them a blur of gray and motion. I didn't stop until I was across the street, crouched behind a parked delivery van, my chest heaving, the cold November air slicing into my throat. My hands shook as I unclenched them. The note was still there, damp with sweat, the ink starting to run. I looked up at the building. 12 stories of brick and glass, windows glowing softly in the dusk. My floor was near the top, the corner unit with the crooked blinds. I counted the windows out of habit, mine was the third from the left. 10 minutes had passed since I'd left the elevator. Maybe less. That's when the 12th floor exploded. It wasn't a movie explosion, all fire and slow-motion debris. It was sudden, violent, a sharp crack like thunder trapped inside concrete, followed by a bloom of orange light that shattered my window and the two beside it. Glass rained down in glittering arcs. A plume of black smoke billowed out, thick and oily, curling into the sky like a scream. Sirens were already wailing in the distance, growing louder. People spilled out of nearby buildings, phones raised. Someone shouted. A car alarm started blaring. I stayed crouched behind the van, the note trembling in my hand, the words blurring as tears I didn't remember crying streaked down my face. Mrs. Jenkins had known, and now she was gone. To be continued.